pass through. But when we say debit, in which way we are debiting the cash account. Cash account becomes capital account. But we write that DR, because that is capital account is being credited, cash account is being debited. So all assets will show debit balance. So that is why we are writing it first. And it is a traditional practice that in the accounting treatment of bookkeeping, we write it in a particular format only for standardization purpose. There is no reason why we should perceive that it should be in a particular fashion only. Over a period of time, there have been a lot of changes. Not every country follows this, but we follow it in this format. When at one point of time, all telephones were black in color, all refrigerators were white in color, all cars were black in color. That was the tradition. But now, if you see, there is no relation to that anymore. Every product is colorful in a different way. One of the essential factors to become successful in life is to be self-compassionate. Being self-compassionate means being mindful, being kind to ourselves, and being connected with the outer world. When we are mindful, we are not judgmental, first and foremost. We just think about it, right from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. You will always be judging something further. You will be assuming so many things. Basically, this is what is making us do something mechanically. That is what is called as atomic habits. That is, you are simply going through the motion. You are simply doing it. You are not involved. You are not engaged in that. So mindfulness is about self-compassion, which recognizes that we are stressed or struggling without being judgmental or without overreacting. That is one of the essential elements of self-compassion. We should be mindful of whatever we are doing. More often than not, we are doing it, but we are not involved in that activity. When we are really involved in that activity, our level of learning will be much more. Our involvement will be much more. You see people who are driving, looking here, looking there and all. These are the people who are actually vulnerable for accidents. Similarly, in a class also, if you are looking here and there, if that eye contact is not there, that's it. You won't learn anything. Later on you will be thinking, why I am not able to understand? You are not able to understand because your eye contact is lost. There are two things which are required. Eye contact, eye contract. Your ability to see is one. Your ability to see for a longer time is another. Attention span. If attention span is short, learning is impossible. We should train our mind to increase our attention span. If attention span is short, we are not meant for higher thinking. So that is how we have to train our mind so that it becomes very energetic. You see a lot of people, most of the politicians are. I don't like politicians, but I like something about them, and that is their energy. You see how active they are all the time. Whatever may be the party, it is immaterial. People are so very energetic. They sleep hardly for 4 or 5 hours. They don't get sleep. There are so many things at their back of their mind, that is what keeps them energetic. In fact, even in Japan also, Japanese like to eat fish. Japan is an island. Japan doesn't have so much of resources. So when people started eating fish, the fish was exhausted on the shore. So people used to go deep inside and get fish. But by the time the fish is brought to the shore, it dies. I don't know. I understand a fish which is fresh is more tasty. I don't eat fish, so I don't know. So I am no one to judge about it. So what they did, they caught the fish in the deep sea. They have put one shark in a tank, and around that fishes were there. Because of the fear that the shark will eat them, fishes were trying to struggle like this, and they should keep themselves alive for a longer period of time. A lot of research has happened like this. Even in Harvard University, Harvard Medical Institute has done this research. They have caught rats. They did not give any food for 2 days. Without food for 2 days, rats were left like that. Third day they have given. Actually, by the time some rats have died also. But some rats survived, and third day when they got food, they were very happy. Next time, the same rats who survived for 3 days, they were again kept without food. For 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, all these rats were still alive. Because they were hopeful that somebody will feed them. And they fed them on 7th day. They were still surviving till 7th day. Next what they did, same rats, and it is not 1 or 2 rats, thousands of rats they did this experiment. Next time, they gave food on the 16th day, and still some rats were surviving till 16th. Not some, many rats were surviving without food for 16th. That means, even an animal also, if it is hopeful, automatically it will improve its immunity, it will improve its chances of survival. That is why hope is very important. Being hopeful will make you much more active, energetic, and you will be able to contribute more meaningfully to the society. So most of the politicians, whatever may be their background, whatever may be their crooked mind, they have some hope that they will become something, be something. Maybe they are not thinking about you, me or anybody else. But they are thinking that they will be getting a greater opportunity to play a greater role. And that is what energizes them. Otherwise, with hardly 4 or 5 hours of sleep, we cannot be active like that. Early in the morning also you will see them very active. Because the moment when some 10, 15 news channels will put the mind, whatever may be their health condition, then automatically starts with them. But the serotonin levels are very high for them. Because they are in the public domain, they get energetic automatically. This is what has happened even in HR also. Have you come across something called Hawthorne effects? Do not come across. Hawthorne. Hawthorne is a very popular HR study where they were asking employees to work. So they were working, they saw the output. After some time what they did, they put cameras there. They put cameras there and they said that we are watching. You are being under scanners. People started working. Not out of the fear that they lose the job. When somebody is watching you, you get more energy. You feel that you are in a powerful situation. And that is what actually in all the B schools, in all the higher education institutions, if they are teaching one topic, if there is a one module which has to be delivered for 5 hours, the faculty will teach only for 4 hours. 1 hour what they will do, they will break it down into few small concepts, mini concepts, ask some student to come and talk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Actually what happens, students unfortunately start thinking that we are working and faculty are getting their salary. It is not the way we look like that. When a student comes to the podium and speaks for 5 minutes, for that 5 minutes they might have prepared for even 1 hour also, or sometimes 2-3 hours also. Probably they have struggled so much to come and there to the podium and speak for 5-10 minutes. But the confidence that they will build up because of this, that is really amazing. Because this is not something that every day you don't get an opportunity to speak in the presence of 100 people. So, that is what has to be built up. Otherwise, With the same kind of mindset if we go, even in the corporate world, we know the answer. We don't want to say because somebody is going to laugh at us. How will we be successful? There, nobody will give you an opportunity. Here probably the faculty will teach you, ask you once again, okay, would you like to speak, would you like to? Then nobody will speak. What will happen? People who have taken the initiative in the corporate world, they will get promotions. After 1 year, an appraisal happens, performance appraisal happens. Somebody will tell you, you are not assertive. You may be knowledgeable, so what? Knowledge has no value unless and until it is applied. You may be knowing, but you are not speaking. When it is required, you are not speaking. So that's why you are not assertive, you cannot be a good manager, you will not be able to get things done. They promote somebody else. Then you will realize. No, the point is, why should you realize at that time? You can realize even now also. So being assertive is very important. Without hurting somebody's feelings, we can still be assertive. We can always say no without being very assertive. So that is the essence of being mindful. Self-kindness. Self-kindness. I was doing one session in July last week in Raipur. But somebody said something negative has happened, and I keep thinking about it all the time. If you keep on thinking all the time, that is why I have shown you that image of the brain, which is so heavy, that it itself is constrained. That means that living in the past all the time. When you live in the past, you cannot move ahead. Many things happen which are positive, which are negative. If it is positive, think about it, but don't stay in that past. But if something negative has happened, that should not pull you behind. So, you require some kind of a self-compassion so that you are kind to yourself, first of all, being supportive and understanding towards ourselves. When we are having a hard time rather than being harshly self-critical. So many people who are successful in PG program, when they take a professional program like CA, SMA or CMA, when they don't pass in the very first attempt, they are disappointed. Because they think that these are also like BCom or MBA and all. BCom and MBA is very difficult to fail. CA, CS is very difficult to pass. There are only 3 to 5% people will pass. I may not have done well, but somebody else has done much better than me. India might have played well, but Sri Lanka has played much better. So, the point is, being sportive, you should try to enjoy it. You should say, okay, any which way they have played better than us, so that's how we have won. You should not feel sad that some other country has won, we have not won. That is not the way you should be thinking about. That is negative thinking, that is jealousy. With jealousy, with comparison, nobody can be happy. First of all, that has to be taken out of our mind. So rather than being, there are some people who are very critical. Yeah, I think I am not good in this, or I am not cut for these things, so I should not be doing. Many times people fail. Only because they fail, they will learn. And once you learn, only they will be successful. You cannot be right every time. You cannot be successful in the very first attempt. You should accept. I'll ask you one simple question. How many years time do you have to complete your MBA? Wrong. It's not 2 years. 5 years. UGC acknowledges the fact that not every student is good in academics. There can be people who are very average in academics, that's okay. They give at least 2 years more time. UGC says give at least 3 years more time. Because not everybody makes a pass in every first attempt. It is a different matter, that is why Nelson Mandela says, to ruin a country, you don't require arms. You don't require ammunition. You don't require nuclear capabilities to ruin a country. To ruin a country, all it requires is dilute the educational standards. That is why so many people are passing. Randomly you do a survey. Ask somebody, what job are you doing? Second question you ask, first ask them, did you get a job? Second you ask them, what job are you doing? Third question you ask, what is the relationship between what you have studied and what you are doing? You will know what is the educational standard in the country. We have diluted. That is why many people are struggling to find a job. Everybody will feel good that they got very good marks. You do randomly, not only in this part of India. Randomly, you just ask 100 people who have passed MBA and ask them these 3 questions. You will know what is the relevance of our education for our career and for our job. There is no correlation. Because there is no correlation, we think that it is useless to study. This is the conclusion that we have drawn. And that is why we don't want to give in our best effort. Actually, we can create that correlation. You can be interested in something which you like, and over a period of time you will be able to be successful because you are passionate about what you are doing. If you are not passionate, then you are simply going through the mechanical motions and you are simply saying that okay, I am unlucky, I am not getting a job. You are not unlucky. You did not prepare yourself for the job. And nobody wants to ask. So, while I try to be truthful about my capability, but at the same time I should be very kind to myself. I should say, I was not good at it, but I can be good at it. There is nothing that is going to make it difficult for me to overcome this situation. That is why I shared with you. I shared one case set also. Did you take a case set, one page cases? Shall we quickly look at that one? That's a very interesting case. You have it in your mobile. I'll read it out. One case letter which was shared by Avinash, I think, but you shared with all of you. I'll read out so you'll understand what kind of pressure everybody goes through. But still, once you are aware of it, it will be very simple for you to take care of yourself. All of you have read that case study? If you have read, then I will not discuss that. You didn't read it. Okay, I didn't share that case letter with Avinash. Did I share it? I shared it with Dhananjay sir. He shared it with you? Okay, we look at that case now. Yeah, case letter. Who is driving it? You read it? You didn't read it? Okay, we'll read that case letter. This is a very interesting case letter. If all of you are looking at your mobile case letter, you can have a look at it. I'll read the case letter. It's just 2-page case letter, but very interesting one. If all of you are looking at it, I'll read that one. Shall I start? Shall I start? Okay. Who is driving your bus? The bus metaphor frequently used in acceptance and commitment therapy describes the ways internal experiences, thoughts, emotions, urges, memories, etc. seem to drive our lives. The metaphor asks us to consider a life in which such experiences do not determine our decisions, but instead sit in our minds as would passengers on a bus. Accordingly, the bus represents the mind and the passengers symbolize different internal experiences. From here the case starts. You are the driver who can exist separately from the content spewed out by the passengers. For instance, the driver can notice a passenger telling him he is ugly, but the driver does not necessarily have to believe the comment to be true. As a driver, we make important decisions about the speed and direction of the bus. We generally have a sense of where we might like to go and the pace at which we might like to move. Depending upon the traffic conditions, we will drive the bus, we will choose the pace, we will choose the direction accordingly. Simultaneously, passengers may express opinions loudly and aggressively, while others may sit back quietly. But passengers may even behave frighteningly by running to the front of the bus and yelling directions at you. Impatience. One of the passengers' name is impatience. The passenger may insist that you hurry up. Because they are getting late for something, they are telling you to drive fast. So one passenger's name is impatience. Another one, fear, is screaming at you. He is saying, turn here, don't go there. Self-sabotage, another person may yell, turn around. The bus will fail to get through those bumpy, unpaved roads. Depression, another passenger. Depression may convince you to pull over and stop driving for a while. Over time, you start mindlessly adhering to the passenger's demands. For instance, upon meeting an individual with whom you might develop an intimate partnership, worthlessness is another passenger. Worthlessness may remind you that if you turn toward a new relationship, you will be rejected. So turn away. Consequently, low self-worth. Low self-worth is another passenger. May lead to mindless choices that end that relationship. What often escapes our awareness is that these passengers' thoughts, feelings, memories, urges, bodily sensations, etc. cannot actually touch you or the mechanics that move the bus. You are very much in control of the situation, your bus is very much in control of you. You are always a driver and they can only be passengers. They can say that you are stupid or you will fail, but they cannot actually stop or redirect the bus. Their words may even bring you to tears or increase your heart rate. You may stop the bus and order the passengers to leave, or you may turn around to argue with them. In the end, though these efforts most often result in you moving nowhere so that you can engage with these troublemakers. So basically, the bus driver should not allow any of these internal thoughts, feelings, urges and other body sensations, including memories, to determine his thought process. His brain is independent of all these internal feelings, which are nothing but the passengers, and his bus is completely within his control only. At different times in our life, some of these passengers may be more forceful. That means sometimes there will be peer pressure. Today, some of you have got some doubts to ask. They fear asking because they feel their friend will laugh at them. Just think about it. Where were these people 2 years back? Did you know them? Where will these people be after 2 years from now? If you start thinking like that, you will acknowledge the friendship, but you will not be afraid of it. You are not worried that somebody will laugh at you. In the last 3 days, I get so many opportunities to talk. So many people have wanted to talk also, but they are always afraid that somebody else will laugh at them. This is actually a lesson for you. 2 years back you don't know them. 2 years from now they will not be seated beside you. But you are more concerned because this is the pressure because they are exerting that kind of a forceful pressure on your mind at this point of time. Only at this point. So at different times in our lives, some of these passages may be more forceful, persuasive, or imposing than others. They'll say, let us go to this movie. You may not like that hero, you may not like that heroine, but you will go because you don't want to say no to your friends. That means they are successful. You have failed. They were successful in imposing their views on you. But you have failed to express yourself. You thought by saying no, they will be hurt. They were insensitive to your feelings. They were insensitive to your feelings. They may like Pawan Kalyan, but you need not necessarily like Pawan Kalyan. But you will think, if I say no, probably they'll feel hurt. But internally you are hurting yourself. You are doing something which you don't like. Whenever you do something which you don't like, you are actually under stress. Furthermore, when you are more vulnerable, and you know what happens when once you do this, next time somebody else also will do this. So over a period of time, you will only be accommodating somebody else's request. You will forget yourself. You will not have a personality of your own. Because you are being driven by, you are being defined by somebody else. This is the core problem. And what will happen over a period of time? To discover yourself will become so difficult. Because this is not what you are. Every leaf in the plant kingdom is different. The Almighty wanted everybody to be different. We are not some, refrigerator or some car. If you are buying a Swift Desire, every day Maruti Suzuki is making 20,000 Swift Desires. All 20,000 are same. Every day 20,000 people may be being born in one country. All 20,000 people are different. God wanted them to be different. God never wanted them to be standardized products. Everybody should think on their own. You should not be driven by your friends. You should have friends, but you should have your own independent mindset to think whether this is good or not. If you don't apply your discretionary power which is given to you, you will become what they wanted you to become. Today it is X, tomorrow it is Y, today it is X, Y, Z. One fine day there is nothing called yourself. Our name is different, our DNA structure is different, our existence is different. Everybody is different. Just think about it. We are hardly 700 crore people in this world. There will be 700 crore leaves in this campus only. 700 crore leaves are different. God wanted everybody to be different. Different but better. Not different and worse. But what we are doing, we are thinking that I should be like him. I should be like somebody. If somebody is good, take something good from them. You need not replicate them. There is no reason why you should replicate. But this is how our personality gets too many rough edges. So furthermore, when you are vulnerable, these passages may seem to directly impact the way you drive the bus. The bus is your own life. You can control your own life. But you are letting somebody else control your life. Loneliness may spot a mean, abusive ex-partner and advise you it would feel so nice to have a co-pilot for this part of the drive. Basically, there are so many people who married somebody they like only, but again they have parted ways. That means at some point of time, what was something which was most important for you became less important for you. You go for shopping, you spend 2-3 hours, buy one very good dress. After some time you are only throwing away that dress. So these things which come from the external world can never ever sustain your happiness. At times you may want advice, at times you may want only the positive passengers on the bus, but so that you can also drive along with hope, telling you it will all be okay. Because positive people always look at, I'm always 5 o'clock in the evening. I'll give you that talk, but I'm not aware of that. Typical Onam festival celebrations have started in Kerala, so people are going on vacation for 12 days. So they want something to be done after 12 days, they want it to be done today, only because of that. So they are feeling stressed that we are not getting the documents. Actually, we have time till 12 days, but they are going on vacation today. The entire Kerala is closed from today, celebrating Onam. That encouraging message, however, may cause an unexpected bump in the road to leave you blindsided. Just like this. Suppose if a thorn gets into your feet, you use another thorn called a needle to remove that thorn. But after you remove the thorn from your leg or from your feet, you won't keep that needle in your pocket. You throw that one. So even hope also can give you a bump on the road, means even hope will also create a situation where you will start expecting more and more. How many of you have studied progressions? Arithmetic progression, geometric progression, you are all aware of it? All of you know arithmetic progression? All of you know geometric progression? When we keep providing, suppose if you are helping others, if you keep helping others in arithmetic progression, their expectations will rise in geometric progression. So whatever you do, they will be unhappy. They are unhappy because they are receiving it. The one who is providing in arithmetic progression, their expectations are increasing in geometric progression. So you will never be able to meet their expectations. So the bus naturally exists as residents of the bus. The passengers naturally exist as residents of the bus. The problem does not lie in their presence, but instead in mindlessly believing in and abiding by their declarations and demands. So whatever may be the conditions, very important real life incident. One day, Walt Disney, all of you know Walt Disney? The Disney network also, the Disney channel. One day Walt Disney was so much depressed with life, he went to one building which was more than 100 floors high. He went to the top of the building. He wanted to commit suicide. He looked down, he was also afraid. He removed his coat, he put the coat on his face, he was about to jump. Then he thought, I'm going to die in few seconds from now. I think everybody is unhappy like me only. But I don't know why they are able to still survive. I am not able to survive. Then he says, let me remove the coat once and see if anybody is happy. So he removes his coat, looks around, he will not find anybody, no human being is there. But he will see one rat. When he looks at the rat, he feels that the rat is smiling at him. That is how he created Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is more than 110 years old brand. Just imagine. When looking at the rat, he was inspired. And he says, this rat has saved my life. I will see to it that till human civilization exists, people will look for entertainment from this rat, and he created this Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the entire Tom and Jerry. That is why you see a small kid, 3 years old kid also is watching Tom and Jerry, 80 years old person, 100 years old person also is watching Tom and Jerry, and they are enjoying. That is the power of happiness. So you realize that to really be happy, you don't require wealth. I will show you some video tomorrow where people who are so very poor but still they are so very happy, because it is not wealth which will contribute to happiness, it is all in our mind. So continue this case slide for a few more minutes and then we will run. The secret to managing the passengers is not to listen to the good ones. Instead, the trick is to acknowledge the content of all the passengers as merely part of the bus ride. That means in the life, in our personal life called bus ride, all these are just mere passengers. Each passenger has a seat on the bus and will always convey their typical messages. No matter their volume or persistence, they will never drive the bus. This is what we should remember. They are passengers, they will sit in the passenger seat only. They will never come to the driver's seat, they will never understand our conditions, they will never understand traffic conditions, they will have no control on bus. Control on bus means on our personal life. No matter their volume or persistence, they may shout at you, they may raise their voice, but they cannot do anything, they can never drive the bus. Similarly, internal experiences, thoughts, feelings, urges, memories, etc. can arise and they do not have to determine the manner in which we behave. Consider Joel, who forgot his mother's birthday. As she expressed hurt feelings, he noticed the following old passages. Now that he knows this entire story, defensiveness is one passenger who is saying, make an excuse, better yet blame her. That means I forgot my mother's birthday. I am blaming her only for not knowing that today is her birthday. What is guilt telling her? Telling the bus driver. Showing Joel memories. You are a terrible son. So I have a guilt conscience which is telling me I don't even remember my mother's birthday. So I am feeling guilty for whatever has happened. So that is also not in the right spirit, because I should be kind to myself also. Avoidance is telling me, creating an urge to end the call. Okay, you hang up now. Don't even tell her. You simply just hang it up on her. Don't even need to tell her. Anxiety, paired with rapid heart rate, is saying, you can't handle this. You have forgotten her birthday many times, so this time also you forgotten, so you will never be able to manage this. Passengers such as concentration, honesty and accountability seem to take a back seat. Yet they speak to Joel's values more so than those louder and more imposing folks. As a bus driver, Joel acknowledges the reactions of defensiveness, guilt, avoidance and anxiety, but also notes the opinions of the less vocal passengers like consideration. What is consideration saying? Apologize, say sorry and make it up to her. Honesty is saying, acknowledge your mistake. Accountability is saying, take responsibility for your actions. These are positive things. A bus driver can turn left at 20 miles per hour, while screaming passengers insist that he travels straight while moving at 80 miles per hour. Likewise, Joel can acknowledge the urge to hang up the phone and or defend his mistake while deciding to act in accordance with values informed by honesty, accountability and consideration. Of course, the louder, older the passengers are, the harder to ignore. However, that is why we say, crying baby only gets mother's attention. Babies cry because they want their mother's attention. But we should also be concerned about those babies who don't cry also. Mother should be more concerned about a baby who doesn't cry also. That is more important. However, it is not impossible to note the content of all the passengers and make value-based decisions. Okay. How can we make this value-added decisions? Acceptance is about driving the bus yourself. First, we should accept the fact that we are in control of the situation. Turning right or left as you personally choose according to your values. With all your scary passengers along for the ride. Of course, action in the presence of conflicting messages can be difficult. Especially when you are getting too much of advice, it is very difficult to make the right decision. A good first step involves identifying the passengers on your bus. Are they emotions, thoughts, memories, images, sayings, bodily reactions, etc.? To what extent do you believe their content and or behave according to their demands? The next step involves finding ways to recognize that these passengers are creating enough distance between you and their comments so that you can make decisions without considering just the loud but imposing messages. Unless and until we take ownership for our own actions. That is why once you become responsible for your actions, automatically you are most likely to be successful. So that is the message that we should be having. Shall we discuss business and finance? No. Any more questions which I have left out from people who might have asked me? Anything else? From yesterday or today? Anything that I have left out? Nothing? Okay, just to continue with that discussion, I was saying in the past that India has become the diabetic capital of the world. There are many reasons for that, including putting sugar under the Essential Commodities Act. Before Britishers came to India, we did not have sugar factories. We did not have sugar factories either outside or inside. Today we have got sugar factories inside us. Before Britishers came to India, we were using only jaggery. Jaggery doesn't have sulfur, but sugar has got sulfur embedded in its manufacturing process. Sugar has been put under the Essential Commodities Act because out of all the tastes, sweet is the most expensive. That is why government thought we should put sugar under essential commodities because even poor people can buy sugar. If sugar is put under the Essential Commodities Act, it will be subsidized and it will be available for everybody. From a human anatomy standpoint, if your sugar levels are high, it is dangerous. But if your sugar levels are low, it is most dangerous. The entire central nervous system will stop functioning if your sugar levels are low. High sugar is dangerous, low sugar is most dangerous. That is how sugar has been put under the essential commodities. But having said that, because we don't physically do any kind of exercise, sugar gets accumulated. An active body will have very less sugar. Even if you are diabetic, if you are active, sugar levels will get normalized. But Indians, we have got used to a lot of comfort. Now, if you go to Europe, many cars will be fitted with one cycle also. Sometimes two cycles also. A car and cycle. How many people in India who own a car will drive a cycle or will ride a cycle? Because for us, car is a status symbol. In most European countries, car will be fitted with a cycle because at some point of time, because of thick traffic conditions, especially in city limits, people will stop the car, park it somewhere and take the cycle routes, which will never happen in India. First. Second thing, there are cycles in many places. You simply use your credit card, the chain, the lock will get automatically released. You can use the cycle, you can park it wherever you want. There are cycle stands everywhere across Europe. When you ride a cycle, in the nearest parking lot you can stop it. If it is less than 1 hour, they don't charge anything. And if it is more than 1 hour, they will charge proportionally. And so many companies have sponsored cycle stands and cycles. Cycles are kept somewhere in a place which is accessible and people will start using it. If you ever come to IIT Kharagpur, you can see a cycle stand. Where thousands of cycles are there. People go across the university in a cycle. I've seen people who are very rich also ride a cycle within the campus. Second, even in Hyderabad also they started on one particular day, they will use only bicycles in some places. L&T has sponsored that. So many software companies also have sponsored that. On Thursday they said we will do carpooling. So RTC has increased the buses on Thursday. And many people who go on their own in a car, they partner with their friends and that is how they will use less number of cars. Thursday, relatively you will find less traffic. So it is not impossible. It is just that our minds cannot accept it. Actually, whenever you are doing physically a lot of activity, moving around and all, automatically sugar comes. So because our mindset is that car is a status symbol, I should be using a car, and if I use a car, I don't want to use a two-wheeler, forget about using cycling. That is how we will be much more, vulnerable for becoming diabetic. Stress is another reason. Stress is because we desire first and deserve next. If we deserve first and desire next, automatically stress level goes. Okay, good. That's a very relevant question. Mukesh Ambani has got somewhere around 49 point something % stake in his own company, whereas the rest of them are having more than 50%. Good. Typically, according to Companies Act, whenever a decision is being made in an AGM, a resolution is passed. There are two types of resolutions. One is an ordinary resolution which requires simple majority of 50 point something, and then a special resolution which requires 75%. That is 3/4 majority is required. So special resolutions cannot be passed in favor of Mukesh Ambani because he doesn't have 75%. But he has got 49%, let's say very close to 49%. So he doesn't have a majority in his company. Now what is this question all about? If all of them come together, they can throw Mukesh Ambani out of his own company. But why does anybody want to throw him when he made all of them so wealthy? Like it is like this. I'll tell you another joke which will connect with this. During this lockdown, somebody was telling me this joke. So two elderly men are talking to each other. So one person asks the other person, how many children you are having? He says, I have got 4 children. What are they doing? First one is a doctor, very good. So second person is a judge, good. Or he is a lawyer, or he studied law, good. Who is the third person is a chemical engineer, good. What is the fourth person doing? Fourth person is a robber. Then he said, throw him out of the house. Throw the fourth child out of the house means he will say the fourth person is actually feeding everybody else. All the three people are jobless. Why will anybody throw Mukesh Ambani out of his chair? Mukesh Ambani has made all these other people rich. In fact, Tata Group with less than 5% stake in ACC controlled ACC. 95% was held by other people. And who was holding this 5%? Tata Sons. What is Tata Sons? A charitable organization. Who was owning that Tata Sons to a larger extent? The one who died in June 2022, Shapoji Palaji was holding 35% stake in Tata Sons. His son Cyrus Mistry was also holding, who died last week. Tatas did not own Tata Sons, and Tata Sons owned 5% in ACC, and ACC was a Tata Group company. You are not afraid because you got very less money. Or for that matter, you should really be proud of P.V. Narasimha Rao. P.V. Narasimha Rao was managing a minority government for 5 full years. People who had majority lost the confidence on the floor. So by having full majority also, there are prime ministers who could not complete 5-year term. There are chief ministers who could not complete their 5-year term with majority. But P.V. Narasimha Rao, by being a non-Congress or from non-Nehru family, person who had very little to do with that kind of hardcore politics, operating a minority government, continued to be there for 5 full years. It has got nothing to do with that. It is not how much you are owning stake in the company which will determine. It is how much confidence other people have in your capability. That is good. Steve Jobs was thrown out of his own job. Steve Jobs lost his job because he did one very risky experiment. All the other board members came together and said, you are being sacked. Steve Jobs came to Himalayas. Steve Jobs even met Dalai Lama house. And after interacting with him, he realized that this guy is so very calm, composed. What is it that he has done? He is so very peaceful, he is so very happy. Whereas I am one of the busiest person in the world, but I am unhappy. He went back. He started a company called Pixar. Apple bought Pixar. Because of which, again, Steve Jobs became an employee of Apple. Then he said, I know how to solve this problem. I know how to make Apple a very strong company once again. So he was considered as a consultant for a few weeks, and after whatever he said, it was implemented, and when they saw success, they again made him the CEO of the company. Another similar story, which is a real life story. There is one person by name Robert. Robert was the CEO of Coca-Cola. One day, Robert said, why are we continuing with the same chemistry, same concentrate? Let us change it. Chemistry of that concentrate called Coca-Cola, he changed it. Globally, for the first time, Coca-Cola lost market share and Pepsi became a market leader. The board members have thrown Roberto Goizueta out of this chair. They sacked him. Once again he went back to the same board and said, I know how to solve this problem. And he solved the problem. He was the one who introduced the Diet Coke. He was hired as a consultant. He became a CEO once again. And while he was continuing as CEO, he died naturally. Today in Atlanta, there is one business school owned and managed by Coca-Cola, and this business school has got its name, Roberto Boisita School of Business, owned and managed by Coca-Cola within Coca-Cola campuses. So you can imagine. One major problem in typical Indian mindset or the Eastern mindset is, if I like somebody, I think they are good for everything. If I don't like somebody, I think they are good for nothing. Actually, their capability has got nothing to do with what I am thinking. We don't separate. We don't separate our opinion with their capability. I don't like X, so I think that he or she is good for nothing. I like X, I think he or she is good for everything. That is a mistake. Just think about it. Stuart Broad, in his bowling, Yuvraj Singh hit 6 sixers. In Chetan Sharma's bowling, last ball, Javed Mianda has hit a 6. That has sealed the career of Chetan Sharma. This is the way we think. Stuart Broad was given again opportunity, and because of Stuart Broad, England has won Ashes against Australia. Can we be like that? Can we be so very non-judgmental? It is not possible for us. Because we have not trained our mind like that. I may hate somebody, but still they may be good in whatever they are doing. I may like somebody, but still they may be good for nothing. My liking or my disliking has got nothing to do with their capability. We should try to reach that stage of detachment and say, I don't like you or I don't agree with you, but I appreciate that you have raised this concept. So in the Western world, what they say, I don't agree with you, but I respect your ability to express. I respect you as a human being. You have got every right to express. But I don't agree. That's fine. You don't need to think like me, nor I need to think like you, because God never wanted both of us to think alike. As I say in HR, if two people think alike in an organization, one of them is not required. If two people think alike, one of them is not required. We should think differently, we should debate, discuss, deliberate, and come to a decision. Then everybody should agree. That is why Henry Ford is a very successful businessman. Henry Ford, it seems, used to call all his team members and share one idea. He used to say, I got this idea today. And he used to ask other people what they think about it. Everybody will say, it's a great idea, excellent idea, because they are trying to impress upon Henry Ford. When he asks everybody, if everybody says it's a great idea, he will simply tear that idea and throw it in the dustbin and say, I know this is a very lousy idea, this is a very poor idea, now improvise upon this idea. Because I know it is a very ordinary idea. That is how great leaders are improvised upon the thought process of their team. Because if you keep on saying yes to your boss all the time, it will bloat his ego or her ego. And over a period of time, people will stop contributing because they will start thinking that boss will like only whatever we say is acceptable to him. Only when we say good things, only he will accept it. So they will stop being critical. Nobody would like to share bad news, and the boss will be the last person to get to know about bad news. By the time the boss will get to know, it will be too late. That is how most of the problems get multiplied. So we should be able to say things as they are, but put it in a very polite way so that they will also appreciate. Like I used to teach in a place in Hyderabad called Shadab College, where there were 13 floors. I used to teach, there was a visiting professor there. One day I saw a board, lift under maintenance. That was put later on. Initially it was lift out of order. Lift out of order means what? Lift is not working. So people will feel definitely bad that lift is not working, you have to climb 13 floors. Then somebody told them, don't say lift out of order, lift under maintenance. Out of order is very negative term. Because you feel sad that the lift is not working, now I have to walk 13 floors. But when they say lift under maintenance, you feel good that at least somebody is there to take care of this lift. So that means this lift will not stop in between. Maybe it would have stopped if this maintenance was not there. So you feel good about it. In both cases it is not working. You know it is not working, you know that we have to walk. But at least there is a method to make it look positive. And that is why it is written, it is under maintenance rather than under repair. Repair is a very negative. Similarly, whenever we are communicating, whenever we are expressing, we can use more polite words, we can use much more softer words and express. So that the other person also feels more empathetic rather than being more critical. By being critical, you will only be creating more differences amongst people. You will only be straining your relationship with other people. So that's precisely the reason why we need to be a bit more humble in our expression. Any other question? Yeah. Economic crisis in Sri Lanka. It is not a political crisis, it has become economic crisis. Good politics is not good economics. Good economics is always good politics. No. Typically what happens? To become popular amongst the citizens, a leader may actually subsidize so many things. Once you subsidize non-merit goods, and what does the World Bank say? Only 3 are merit goods: health, education, and food. Food comes first, health comes next, education comes first. World Bank also says only these 3 things should be subsidized. Fertilizer should be subsidized because it is related to food. Food, health and education, if they are subsidized, automatically the nation becomes strong. Is there any need to subsidize petrol? Is there any need to subsidize kerosene? Kerosene has to be subsidized because kerosene is used for cooking. Anything which is, because we are not in that old age, the ice age, where people used to do hunting and eat raw meat and raw. We eat cooked items. Because we eat cooked items, fuel should be subsidized. But auto fuel, is there any need to justify this subsidy? No. Because electricity is subsidized, we don't switch off ACs. Because petrol and air turbine fuel and diesel are no longer subsidized. Whenever it is subsidized, government is taking the burden. Whenever it is taking the burden, its fiscal deficit increases. Whenever the fiscal deficit increases, inflation increases. Whenever inflation increases, interest rate has to increase. Whenever interest rate increases, exchange rate increases. Economy gets into a tailspin. So decisions, policy makers, when they take decisions which are populistic, will increase fiscal deficit in the short run in the long run it becomes unsustainable. When it becomes unsustainable, it will lead to economic crisis. So political crisis leads to economic crisis. Nifty 50 and Nifty next is all companies which are considered to be the shakers and movers of the stock. Like say for example, what kind of companies are there in Nifty next? You just tell the 3-4 companies in the Nifty next unit. Which is Upgrade. Is Upgrade making money? Is Paytm there? No. Typically, again I'll draw your attention to statistics. First of all, in statistical sciences, a large sample is anything which has got 30 or more than 30 elements in it. That is why Sensex has got 30 stocks. Whenever the sample size is more than 30 or 30, it follows a normal distribution. Whenever something follows a normal distribution, it can be predicted with a high degree of certainty. Because if it is a small sample, we would have done a student t-test. If it is a large sample, we would have done a normal distribution test. A large sample means greater than or equivalent to that. So Nifty 50 or Sensex 30 scripts both will follow a normal distribution of data, which makes it easier to predict the shape of things to come. Now, but to put something in Nifty 50 or to put something in Sensex 30 shares, there are certain parameters. Just like in statistics, you might have come across parametric and non-parametric tests. Similarly, to put a particular company in Sensex is very tough decision that they make. Because Sensex will only have 30. Some new companies may be added, some old companies may be removed, which are no longer having the fancy of the investor fraternity. Now, the reason why Nifty Next has been created is because there are so many new generation companies which are not making profits, which will not make profits in the foreseeable future, but which are being fancied by the investors. Because too many investors are chasing the same stock, the stock is appreciating and that is why the price is rising. No. We can include them in Sensex, we can include them in Nifty 50. But the nature and composition of Sensex and Nifty is quite different. These stocks do not fit into the same characterization or the same, if I have to use the word in chemistry, that is for characterization. Or it does not meet the parameters. So what they did, they created a separate company. Let me give you an example. Have you heard about, and I'm pretty sure all of you have heard about it, but I want you to tell me the name of the company. The name of the product is Parachute. Which company manufactures Parachute air oil? Which company? Louder. Parachute is a brand, very popular brand. No, it is not. Hindustan Unilever Limited has got Nihar as a competitor. HUL does not take. Not Bajaj. Bajaj is not into this kind of a thing. ITC is not there. Dabur is wrong. Huh? Louder. Spelling? No, not. Who said Marico? You said that. You broke the net? No. Good. Give her a big big hand to Marico Industries. Marico Industries makes parachute. Marico was a very small company. Even HUL could not compete with Marico Industries. When Marico Industries became very powerful, very rich, they started another business called Kaya. Did anybody hear about Kaya? K-A-Y-A. K-A-Y-A. Kaya is a skin clinic. Kaya has got skin clinics even in Dubai also. In most of the Middle East also, it's an Indian company. They've got a chain of skin clinics across the country, including some parts of Asia and Middle East. But Kaya was making losses. Investors were saying, why should we buy this share of the company? We thought it is Marico Industries. One fine day, the owner said, fine. You don't want this company, you don't like this business, I will remove this business from Marico. From the balance sheet of Marico, assets of Kaya was removed. That's a separate company that is making more profits. Why it is making more profits? Some businesses will start making losses initially. Later on it will make abnormal profits. But you as an investor, you don't have a waiting period or you don't have the patience to wait. If you plant leafy vegetables, you will get quick returns in 10 days. If you put sweet corn, you will get the results in 1 month. But if you go for mango growth, it will take 5 years or 10 years also. But you will get more returns in the long run. So investors did not understand the business. So he has separated this business and that business is more profitable. And that is how many people try to carve it out. And that is what is restructuring all. Why do we need to do this? Because investors don't understand this. The reason why I told about Kaya, a very popular skin clinic which competes with, because Indian rules are different. In the Indian context it is different. Like if you go to Middle East, maxofacial surgeries are done in a parlor. In India, other than a surgeon, if somebody else is holding a knife and touching somebody with a knife, they will be put behind bars. But in Middle East, in parlors, people do surgery, maxofacial surgery is done, which is not permitted in India. So, certain businesses will take longer time to show that positive results. So, such companies cannot be included in Nifty 50. A separate index has been created for such new generation companies, which are top line driven and not bottom line driven. As yesterday I mentioned, top line means sales, bottom line means profits. These companies will only have sales, they will not have profits in the short term. So such companies should not be mixed with the existing traditional old companies. That's the reason for assumption. Why is it that you are dealing gold and silver from across the world, right from the First World War basics till 1960, a little bit of dollarization has happened, where dollars was the only country, where US was the only country which gave that gold or silver equivalent. 60s only there was a problem. In 1971, when the oil prices have risen for the first time, that is the first oil shock in 1971, the second oil shock in 1973. From 1973 onwards, even US also has completely dealing gold and silver for their issue of currency. That is why since 1973, derivatives have become popular. Derivatives as a financial products have come into existence, and the first derivative which was used was interest rates. Why interest rates were used? Because they said from now onwards we will not increase the supply of dollars, but the demand for dollars will keep on increasing. So interest rates will be purely market driven. That is how right from 1973 all countries, actually there were very few countries which were still having gold and silver. If you link your issue of currency to gold and silver, then the growth of the economy depends upon the availability of gold and silver. That's the reason they are weak. Yeah. You will put my mobile. I think I left it there. Came to action. I didn't try to get to, but I did try different things in India. So, surpass in Himachal Pradesh. I don't know, I think that start somewhere here. Still have some time? 12:30. We still have about 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Till World Bank came into existence, there were no problems. All problems started after World Bank and IMF have come into existence. Okay, just to explain that. What is the average temperature of human body? 98 point? Okay, 98.7, 98.4. Let us accept one of these numbers. Because we are not from science background, so we cannot be right. Okay. That's a 98.5 average we will take. What will happen when the body temperature goes to 100? Fever is a brand you are using. Fever is a label that you are using. What will happen when your body temperature rises to 100, 101? Immunity will decrease. When your body temperature increases, what happens? You start sweating. you will start sweating. When the body starts sweating, the body temperature goes below 98.4 also. Let's say you touch 94, what will happen? When you have a very low temperature like 94 degrees, what will happen? You feel cold. Again, cold is a label. Fever, cold, these are labels. You start shivering. When you start shivering, there is friction in your muscle tissues, because of which the body temperature rises on scale. So, what it means to say is, when there is an increase in body temperature, you start sweating. When there is a decrease in your body temperature, you start shivering. That is how the body temperature is maintained. Now, how India could do trade, or how, not just India, because we are from India, we keep thinking that India was very much engaged in trade. Every country was engaged in trade. In fact, before Britishers came to India, we didn't even know what was India, because there was no border like this. The map that we are seeing did not exist at that time. So, that is how they could easily control India. If at all, if you say that these are all the states belonging to India. So, trade was very much in existence for thousands of years. He is right when he said that during the Harappan civilization also we were engaged in trade. Everybody was engaged in trade. Every country was involved in trade. But why trade was successful those days? Typically, if you see, if a country exports more than what it imports, we take hypothetically an example of just two countries. Let's say there was one USA and UK in the world. Let's assume that there are only two countries in the world. USA is exporting more than what it is importing from UK. Then what will happen? UK will give gold or silver to USA. This is the transaction. Then automatically what happens? In USA, money supply will increase. Why money supply increases? Because they got more gold. Money supply increases. Money supply increases. What happens to goods? Goods are less because goods are being exported to UK. Too much money is there, too few goods are there. What will happen? Inflation. Money supply has increased, inflation increases. When inflation increases, cost of production increases. When cost of production increases, selling price increases. When selling price increases, price elasticity of demand says sales will decrease. When sales decreases, inventory increases. When inventory increases, operations decreases, that is production decreases. When production decreases, hiring decreases, that means unemployment increases. When unemployment increases, people will buy less number of goods. Sales will decrease further. When sales decreases further, inventory will increase further. This is a vicious cycle. So, automatically, UK will become stronger now. UK will export more than what it is importing from US. This is self-correcting mechanism. That is why without IMF, without World Bank, for thousands of years, so many countries could do trade. But after IMF and World Bank have come into existence, they started saying, don't worry, we are there. We are there to ruin you. We will help you. If you are not doing well, we will give you more loans to take these loans. But they are not. Of course, they give very good advice. In a lighter way, I have told you this, but take it seriously. IMF gives loans to weak countries. It will give some good advice. But that advice people will not take. They simply take loans. like Vinamania. So take loans, but actually whenever a loan is given, one liner mail will come to us. Congratulations, your loan for 10,000 crores has been sanctioned. Now there will be some 2,000 pages documents which you have to sign every page. What these people will do, they'll start celebrating because they got 10,000 crores, they'll celebrate. And they'll simply sign on every page. Without reading. When you sign on every legal document without reading, you get into trouble. That is the story in short about Vijay Mafia. So, there is a self-correcting mechanism. Because exactly opposite would have happened in UK. In UK, cost of production is low, the wages is low, so the people are able to give more contribution compared to the wage rate. Automatically their results will pick up. And if one country is dominating, it will be only for few weeks, few months, automatically the other country will dominate. But just see China. China has been dominating for the last 10 to 12 years. China is only giving loans to US. China is making US to buy Chinese products. This is where everything is going for a toss. So the self-correcting mechanism doesn't work in fiat money. What is happening now? Issue of currency doesn't have gold or silver backing. It is only by government order, and that is why it's called fiat money. F-I-A-T. Fiat means government order. So wrap it up here for the day. Thank you very much.